You are listening to the All Metal Mode podcast with your host, Mike Hare. Join me and Gypsy Jules every Monday night and Matt Hoffman and myself every Tuesday night. Listen in as we discuss a wide range of metal detecting and related topics such as technical, equipment, talk to guests, and so much more. Sit back, join in on the drinking game. For those new to the show, every time I say relic machine, you need to do a shot. These are the rules. I didn't make them up. We hope you enjoy this episode of All Metal Mode. Hey everybody, this is Mike and welcome to the show. Glad you can join us. Of course, another rocky start dealing with Skype. I'll tell you, that Skype has really been kicking my butt lately. I'll tell you, it's not been a fun time. I've gone back to the older version, had all kinds of issues with that, and redid the new version. I've got messages. If you've messaged me on Skype, I can't even get my messages. I don't know why it won't let me get to them, but it happens. We're here, and I think we're all here, and we're good. Before we get started, I've really been neglecting my doing my articles lately. I've had some stuff I've wanted to write about, and I've been so busy, between the kids and headphones and everything else, and of course the podcast went from 1 to 3 podcasts a week now, and got a little bit more involved than I thought. Don't get me wrong, I love it, and UK podcast is really doing good. If you get a chance, All Metal Mode UK, we do that live every Thursday, 2 p.m. East or 3 p.m. Eastern, I guess it would be, I believe. Yeah. And we've had some really good guests on there, and I've had a lot of fun with that. And, of course, it's been really great with Gypsy on Monday nights. We've been having fun. And then, of course, Matt on Tuesday nights, tune in Tuesday nights. And, yeah. But I got my articles. I got an article. I stayed up till like 2 something in the morning. I got started on an article. I didn't mean to finish it. I actually wrote 2 articles. I don't have the other one uploaded yet, but sometimes I just do that. I get in the mood and something's been on my mind, and I literally will have it written in my head. I just got to put it to paper, and that's what I did. Those 2 things have been on my mind, but so check out allmetalmode.com up in the navigation, articles, and there's a new article out there, and if you've never been there's some other great articles. Don't forget All Metal Mode Facebook. Please help me. Help us. Help me and Gypsy and me and Matt with guests. Give us input, ideas, suggestions. Join the Facebook group All Metal Mode. Give us, and if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to add, yet another group, I understand. Email me. I do get emails from time to time with suggestions. That's allmetalmode@gmail.com. But we're always looking for input, suggestions, guest ideas. I will say if you have a guest idea, it really helps if you can help put me in touch with them. Mention it to them first, see if they're interested, or get me in a 3-way start a 3-way conversation through Messenger on Facebook, or CC me on an email with them or something. But I find I get a lot of requests, and then I try to track these people down, and it turns into a dead end, or hours of trying to talk to this person, only find out they're not interested, so, but yeah, please help us. And it's your show too, so tell us what you want. Help us out here. So, tomorrow night, Matt and I are going to be talking on a really touchy subject, but tomorrow night's theme is the dark side of the hobby. And, I've mentioned it before. We've never done a show completely on it. What made me decide to do that is I literally had 3 phone calls this weekend of some things that have happened to people, going back on permission that they weren't supposed to be, some shady hunts, things like that. So we're gonna kind of dive into that a little bit and talk about that tomorrow night. And hopefully y'all come around tomorrow night. And Gypsy, how's it going?
Going great. Great to be here tonight.
Good deal. And George, how you doing?
Doing fine, Mike. How about yourself?
I'm doing really good. Things are going good. Other than that beginning with the Skype, things are great. Tonight, you wanted to, I really didn't even get to talk to you about what you want to talk about specifically, but I know when you and I get on a podcast together, we could talk 6 hours, so I'm not too concerned. But I'm really curious about the used market, and you wanted to talk about Bulgarian detectors. So I think those are really great subjects. I'm really curious about the Bulgarian detectors, and honestly, I don't know anything about them. But where do you want to start?
We can talk about Bulgarian detectors.
Let's do it.
Most of them started with a golden mask board, one of your little boards in the metal detector. And what's interesting about Bulgaria is these guys over there, they seem to be like a co-op, They like to share things. They share parts. They use the same people to make their coils. But it all started with the Golden Mask Company. Okay. And they're the original guys, and, they make beep and dig detectors. Mm-hmm. And, and they do a really good job of it. I'm not a big fan of their meter machines because, quite frankly, that is something new for them. And, you have the Golden Mask 5 and you have the 5 Plus that have meters. They're a little different. They're a little, to me, they're old school meters. They're not up to today's standards. Mm-hmm. So when I'm buying Bulgarian, I'm thinking a Golden Mask or a Thracian, which is it's a Golden Mask made to Thracian specifications, kind of like what Troy did years ago with the Shadow.
Okay.
So they're interesting. There's a lot of knockoff detectors coming out of Bulgaria, and I don't choose to waste my money on products that I don't know anything about. But I like the Thracian Golden Mask. There's multiple coils. The thing is simple to use, easy to use, and they've just come out with a very affordable multi-period sensing type of pulse induction PI, detector, and it has a ground balance, and it sounds just like a MindLab GPX.
Oh, no kidding.
It's at a fraction of the cost. And they sell in euro, which is cheaper than British pounds. Oh. So, I was able to score one of these, turn on and go pulses, very easy to use, for less than $700 US. Shipped here.
Nice. Now, that's something I've wanted to ask you. We've had you on, this will be, I believe, we talked about it the 4th time. And I know you and I are kind of the probably 2 of the only people I know of in the country that's really interested in what's going on overseas with detectors. I think you feel the same. I feel like that's where our best technology is coming from is over in Europe right now. Who do you go through to get your detectors?
Well, I go to Thrace Metal Detectors, ThraceMetalDetectors.com, and if you register with those guys and his name is Anatis. He's a Facebook friend. He's got a great business. He delivers what he tells you. He gives you great prices, and he ships FedEx overseas. And man, I get my orders really quick. And he's just a great guy to deal with, and he's got a website, but I don't trust any other sites if I go overseas to buy overseas. I go to Thrace Metal Detectors.
Okay.
And he would sell the Pirate, and people were talking about I think it was the Pirate Black Pearl, the one that Calico sells.
Okay.
And I would just be leery of anything with a meter.
Right.
The Pirate Black Devil Pro I wouldn't give it away. I wouldn't sell it to anybody.
Yeah.
It's just one of those models Pirate made that it will stand the test of time, and it does everything I need it to do here in mineralized soil, and it's very simple and easy to use. And I paid less than $300 US for it. And,
nice.
Any kind of coil you could ever want, they make. I mean, I've got a Thracian and a Pirate here. I must have 8 coils in a box somewhere.
Oh,
So I could switch them.
Wow.
And like I say, they're turn on and go. And over in Europe, which is where Bulgaria is,
right.
they're making machines to find hammered coins.
Right.
And, as we talked about this before, we're slobs over here. We make a big mess of our parks,
right.
and these detectors will not discriminate. Most of them pass foil. Occasionally, I think my Thracian can knock out a pull tab, but, all I need is the two-tone. It reminds me of a Nautilus, the MC2B, with the high pitch coming in, or the Rudis.
Okay.
But it's just simple to use. You ground balance it and set your controls, and off you hunt.
Now, where did you get your Rudis? Because I'm here at Thrace Detectors, and they don't carry the Rudis. I believe only.
No.
Who carries?
You get them in England.
Mm-hmm.
You have what's the company in England? I don't want to draw a blank, but you go on to eBay and look Rudis 71,
isn't it? No.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, Detectnics.
Yeah, it's Detectnics. Yeah, Detectnics sells the Rudises. Rudis has got a couple of cheaper models that they've come out with, but I used this 71 a couple times, and it was kind of interesting, but because I'm tall and my arms are short, it really hurt my back. And at the time I had it, you couldn't get a tall man rod for it.
Yeah.
So even though it worked great, it was very uncomfortable for me to use. And then, of course, after I get rid of it, they come out with a tall man rod.
Yeah. I'm a real big fan of that Rudis, and I'll tell you a quick story. I've got a friend over in the UK who's been on a field that they're struggling with coke real bad and hot rocks, and he was struggling the worst. He said it was just chattery everywhere. He went out there 2 or 3 times with these guys, and they were all struggling, but he wasn't finding anything. And I said, what have you done? And he said, I've kept it pretty in the standard program. I said, go negative on your hot rock. Do that. And he had input too, and he figured it out. And he sent me a picture yesterday, and his screen was full of coins. I mean, his full. And I said, tell me you were on that field and you figured it out. And he said, yes. So that Rudis is so adjustable and so customizable. I just, what a great detector. But yeah, go ahead.
And it has the hodograph, which will, it's just like a phase scale. You can look at everything to the right will be non-ferrous, everything to the left. But what's cool about like an AKA, which I like, and the Rudis, and they even have it on the White's V3i or the XP Deus. That little hodograph with the squiggly line telling you when to dig, when not to dig. Mm-hmm. It gives you an idea of the signal strength. Mm-hmm. Those are some of my favorite detectors because that's a lot of good information for you to see, other than a number or something like that.
Yep, I love that on the Rudis for sure. It is helpful, isn't it? And I found the VDI to be really stable too. Once you get it, it changes with your frequency, or you might, but I get a really steady VDI. It's a heck of a detector in parks too. It's with that steady
use
VDI
that.
and stuff.
Yeah, use that the concentric coil, the smaller one. I think you'll be really happy with that. Double D's kind of heavy, but concentric coil works really well on coins.
I love concentric coils. Love them.
It just delivers the current into the ground in a different way than a double D, but they do seem to do better on hunting on round targets.
I've always thought, in my opinion, I feel like they do better in iron.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I prefer them when I'm relic hunting at an iron site for sure. I've always done better with concentric coils, and that's something you were talking. You'd mentioned the Macro Nocta and all their coils. I love that they offer so many coils. Nobody's really doing that here. Nobody else, like our main companies, most of them don't have 5 or 6 coils that they're offering for their detectors. And I really like that about Macro Nocta.
Plus, you have aftermarket coils. There's a lot of companies that make additional coils for different machines. So, yeah, coils are pretty much unlimited when you're talking about other companies. And, in America, nobody's doing anything right now. Everybody's put their bet on Fisher to come out with this Manta, but that's a pulse machine. What about some of the other things they promised? Some CZ, a new CZ, or a couple of other land detectors.
Yeah,
I just don't get what's going on, but it must be something pretty crazy, or we would hear more about it. But as it's being developed, I just pick up other detectors.
Yeah, so. I'm pretty, Fisher Technetics, I think they have some pretty good detectors out there, but they've not really offered anything new for quite some time. And, I feel like the companies here in the United States are just really lagging. I mean, Macro Nocta just announced, 2 new detectors and a third one they're working on that's coming out soon. And I mean, that's huge. And
yeah, Dalek and those guys do a good job.
Yeah, they do.
They're very responsive to you, and they're just waterproofing their line, and then they're going to bring out an entry level type of a detector, and then you get a chance to input in your making a simultaneous multiple frequency detector.
Yeah.
And everybody's getting a chance to put their 2 cents in. And no other company would do that. I can't ever remember.
No, it's never been done that I'm aware of. I heard of years ago before the CTX come out, I heard of MineLab going around to some of the club hunts in Chicago area or Illinois and asking for some input, but reaching out to the masses like that, no, absolutely not.
No, but the MineLab is, it's changed things a little bit, especially with used detectors. I go to brick and mortar stores here, my friend's own, and a lot of the guys are using that CTX 3030. Mm-hmm. They're actually trading down because of the weight factor.
Yeah.
They're actually giving up the 3030s. And right now here, I could buy a 3030 with all 3 of the coils, including that 17-inch, with everything they offer for under $1,000.
Oh, that's crazy.
Cash money, and it's just a trickle down. Now, they're not doing that well, but people want lighter equipment, and I think the newer detectors are much lighter.
Now, I've heard some guys, nobody has said, I've heard some guys say that they're doing really good with the Equinox. They really like it. In some ways, they feel like it's better than the CTX. Not in every way, but they feel like they're going back to sites they hunted with their CTX, and they're just hitting more. And
Yeah, it's a faster machine. I mean, it's going to pick up more because it's a faster processor. But like we had talked about, I tried one, and for me it didn't work because of all the small stuff I had to dig in order to find something, desirable.
That
But
50
everybody's
VDI.
got their own thing. Yeah, that compressed VDI, and there was a lot of little things that kind of irked me. I didn't think it was designed that well, but that's just me. That's one person and out of the masses. So
now
freedom of choice.
Are you still using have you used the multi-cruiser much lately?
It sits up against the wall. It's very lonely.
Why hasn't it been out?
Well, it hasn't been out because I haven't been out.
Oh, okay.
And it's probably not going to go out unless it's raining, and then I don't go out in the rain now. Who wants to get pneumonia at my age?
Right. Right.
I can't go out every day anymore like I used to.
Yeah.
Hunt nonstop 7 days a week. You slow down when you get a little older. But no, I haven't really used it. And then the gold cruiser's sitting there too, and it's hard for me to put that impact down when I do go out. I got a little 7-inch coil on it, run it in deep mode, go back to these fields, and still find stuff with it.
That's good. Now, for you, I mean, do you feel like you've got enough time on it and the Knox to compare them?
Well, I've tried to compare them. I mean, they're completely different machines. Like I've always said, the Impact's 36 machines in one. 12 modes, 3 different individual frequencies. I mean, if you can't find something that works and all that, I mean, you're going to be very hard to please.
Right.
But I mean, they're entirely different. I mean, and I like different things, but I found that it just didn't do it. I mean, like I said before, I was digging stuff I had left in the ground, and it did do one thing for me. It told me I left the right targets in the ground.
Right.
Because all I was digging, I mean, it does a few good things, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it didn't turn my head and make me go, oh, wow.
Right.
And, I'm just a jaded person. I mean, when you've used every detector that's ever come out, it's hard to find something that you really, really fall in love with. But I just think the Impact is a great machine, well balanced, does everything you could ever want. And I think if you like the Impact, you're going to probably love the Amphibio. Has a few less programs on it, maybe a new program thrown in, but they're so well made and they did such a good job. It's hard to go against them. And I used to like the 19 kilohertz Relic, the one you had to look on the side of the box. And now you can buy the Amphibio in individual frequencies. So I guess if I was to get one, I would probably, for myself, I'd just get the 19 kilohertz one. You save $100, but everybody's got their own thing. I hunt usually in the higher frequencies anyhow. Yeah.
I kind of like I like the idea of having the frequencies, the different frequencies, because, I might go coin shooting. I might go relic hunting. I might go hit a beach. I like the opportunity. I like the 5. I'll tell you when I'm in really trashy, like if I'm in a trashy park, doing some coin shooting, I like to go to that 5 kilohertz because I'm not going to sit there and dig a million pull tabs and pieces of a pop can looking for gold. And 5 kilohertz has no problem finding a dime.
Well, no, it's lower frequency. It should be doing that.
Yeah, but it's it cuts out a lot of those little chunks of scrap junk and stuff, and I'll put it in 5 kilohertz and go to town sometimes.
Yeah, like you always do with the coil 5 foot off the ground. You probably eliminate some of the small stuff.
No, I keep it right on the ground, and no, it quiets it down when you go to that 5 kilohertz. You're kind of cutting out, like with the Impact. I remember one day I was hunting in, what is it, 16 or 14?
It's 5, 14, and 20, isn't
20.
it? Something
Maybe
like
I
that.
was in 20, and I dug a pellet about 5 inches down. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
at a trashy site like
Oh,
where I was at, I don't want to go after that stuff. So I found if I went into 5 kilohertz, I could
Yeah.
still find coins, and it quieted that little stuff down. Yeah,
Yeah. You don't have to dig it if you don't want to.
right,
And
right.
you can all do a lot of different things to eliminate small stuff, but a lot of people like to dig that stuff. I'm not one of them. I just soon let it lie for somebody else to come along.
Hmm.
Let them dig it up.
But when you get into those higher frequencies, they do kind of. I mean, you are picking up more in the ground. You got to listen. You're getting more tones thrown at you.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
like tunes.
yeah.
So
See,
tones tell you more about a target than a VDI would.
right,
If your
but
ears
I mean,
tuned to that.
I'm talking about you get all that chatter from that little tiny, a pellet, a BB. I don't even want to hear that in my headphones at a really trashy park site. Now,
So
field hunting, really,
why don't you just notch out that stuff? I mean, you can get rid of it if you're not,
yeah,
worried about missing gold or anything. Just get rid of it.
right, right. I don't know. I just drop it down to 5 kilohertz. I don't know.
All
Sometimes
right,
not. Well,
well,
I did, especially in the beginning when I was learning them. Now I stay more in 16, and I've got into notching more, but I don't know. I guess I'm strange.
I'll tell you what's strange about the lower kilohertz nowadays, these machines. You remember the old 1260 series Fishers?
Yeah.
I hunted with all of them. And, you get running probably 4 kilohertz and you get that, I'm out digging relics and I get that nice deep beep and I dig down a foot and I've got a piece of a cooking pot, but it told me it was good.
Hmm.
If you take an XP DAS and put it 4 kilohertz, it knocks that big iron flat. You don't even know it's there, and that's pretty strange. It's almost the exact opposite of what the detectors did in the past.
Huh.
So if I don't want to dig big iron with a DAS, I'll go down to 4 kilohertz.
Well, that should be doing just opposite, right?
You would think that, yes.
Right. That's funny.
It should be, but it doesn't.
Huh. That's
So
weird. That's
yeah.
weird.
Well,
Huh.
I wanted to also tell you what I just picked up. I actually got another DAS, and this is one of the things that I wanted to tell you about. We'll
Yeah.
go back to the brick and mortar store with everybody running in with their $500 bills wanting to buy the X35 coil.
Mm-hmm.
And you go on eBay now. I bought a XP DAS with the case, the 11-inch coil, their pinpointer, the meter, the WS5 headphones for $700.
Oh, wow.
wow. Wow.
You look on a new one, it's 1,600 just without the pinpointer. And here's what people are learning. You know that XP is shipping new DASs with that coil already on it, and they're starting to send them out, and you get the 35 now as a standard coil.
Mm.
And a lot of people are, trying to get rid of their DASs, and nobody's buying them because they can buy a brand new one with the new coil for the same price they would have gotten with the other ones.
No, I gotcha.
And the guys that are running in there, they're happy to buy the new coil, and I haven't had it. I can only go by what I hear, and it's probably a toss-up. It's got more sensitivity, it's quieter, has a boost mode in the machine that seems to give you more depth. But who knows what that coil can do? And with XP, you're going to pay $500 for a damn coil.
Yeah, they're expensive.
Yeah.
Now, how do you like the DAS?
Well, I've had them since the first one ever came out.
Yeah.
I always liked the pitch mode. I call it the little squealer mode, and I like using the hootograph on the XP. But I like the pitch mode, and there's just something about that VCO pitch that I've always enjoyed, and I've never hated it. But when you get a deal like that, and you don't have one in your closet, you might as well put one in there.
You're right. How many detectors do you have right now?
That's what I was about to ask.
I think I have 23, but I haven't looked under the bed yet.
I would have guessed more.
Well, no, because I have a wife who's sensible, and she doesn't care to see all these, so I have to be very creative where I hide them. But there may even be some under her bed. I don't know.
Oh my! I saw
everywhere.
I saw something on the internet the other day, and it was someone was hiding their. Well, they had a shopping problem, but this would be a great place to hide your metal detectors. In the spare bedroom, they took off the mattresses and hid the stuff in boxes and then put a blanket over it, and it looked like, just a made-up bed.
Well, yeah, when you look in my one of my guest bedrooms, it looks like we have 23 visitors sleeping in there.
Oh, that's funny.
I managed to pile them all up on my bed that's not being used. And,
wow.
Thanksgiving's coming, and, we're having it at our house this year out here in the country. So I've got to figure out a way to move all this stuff up to the attic, which I hate doing, but we have a walk-in attic. It's easy to get into. And just remove all your batteries and put it up there in storage, because I won't be able to use them all. I just can't seem to sell them. I'm like a hoarder on TV, but I hoard metal detectors.
It's hard to, because you become a little attached to them. I mean, I only have 6, but I mean, it's hard. It's hard when you've used them and found some really interesting things. You kind of become attached, so it's hard to get rid of them.
Yeah, they all do something a little differently. And,
exactly.
That's the way I feel about them. I'm going to go hunt this particular item. I may just want to grab a couple that do the similar thing. I always want to take a couple with me, just to be sure. But,
right. I always have to have a backup, too.
Yeah, you got to have a backup. You have to be comfortable with it. And, I like light machines now. And all my detectors have a 7-inch round coil and a 5x9 or 10 elliptical on them. And if I don't ever use the big coil anymore unless I'm in a new permission and I want to do a quick scan of the field to see what I've got. And then once I find the iron and start finding some flat buttons and things, I'll switch over to my other coils.
Working my
smaller. Yeah, because
so where
they
do
really
you live,
have.
George?
I live in Virginia.
Virginia.
Yeah.
Oh, lucky. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've been here quite a while, and then I lived 12 years in Delaware, which was great for metal detecting. But I live west of Richmond on the James River, and, I can go within 25 minutes any which way and be in a colonial field that I have permission on.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful.
It's great. Yeah, it's wonderful, but you have to be careful in Virginia. We discussed their laws.
Right.
There's more metal detector users in Virginia probably than anywhere. And, you've got to have written permission on land you're on. The city parks, at least around Richmond, are off limits. So you're kind of limited and you're competing. So I kind of stay, I hunted Civil War relics for close to 40 years. And I really liked colonial all along. And that's all I do now is colonial. And then in colonial sites, I mean, I dug some very nice Confederate buttons last year. And you always seem to find a nice Confederate button or two digging colonial. So it's really great, and couldn't be in a better place than Virginia.
Hey, George, real quick, a couple things. First, I'm pretty sure I asked you Do you get many Revolutionary War finds?
Oh yeah, I have several. I have some French buttons from the Revolution, and like I said before, 1 mile down the road was the camp. It was a Revolutionary War camp, and the general, the British Army, stayed there. You cannot hunt it; the neighbor will not let you. But I found quite a few British artifacts, and they traveled. The French and the U.S. Army traveled together, and Virginia was, it's where the Revolutionary War ended, at Yorktown. Cornwallis was right down the street sleeping from where I live today, in a house right there. Yeah, and there's lots of signs up along what we call Route 250, which is the old Broad Street that went from Richmond to out to Charlottesville area, and that road is still here. They built an interstate that took over from it, but I guess if you went to every field that had a creek nearby, you'd probably dig some relics in them,
right?
Or some kind of water source.
Yeah, that really fascinates me, and it doesn't seem like too many people talk about Revolutionary War stuff. Everybody's into Civil War, so that's kind of my dream someday, is to get on a Revolutionary War site and hunt it. I'd love to.
Yeah, well, they were always on the move.
Yeah.
They were on the move. I mean, they were, and you went up into the 1780s after the Revolutionary War actually officially ended. I mean, we've got the 1781 campaign, and all around here where I'm at, I mean, that's where they marched. They marched all around through here. And all you have to do is get on an old colonial site. I found a King George II halfpenny and the British military shoe buckle and a brown bess musket ball in a driveway of a old colonial dwelling I hunt.
Oh,
so
cool.
you never find the big camp, but it's there. You just gotta walk into the right woods, I guess.
Right. The other thing I wanted to say real quick, Gypsy and I have discussed it, and we would be more than happy to store your detectors for you if you'd like. We wouldn't even charge, George. We wouldn't even charge you. That's how good we are.
You're welcome to use them. I have them. It'd be nice to have them vanish out of here for a while.
We would definitely.
Yeah. They get more use than I'm getting given, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Too bad you don't live closer. For me, George,
if you got an address, just give it to me.
For me, George, I heard you say earlier before we were on live that you don't do much water detecting, but I do a lot of creek and river metal detecting where I live, because there isn't really where I live in Texas. I'm not all that far from Mike, actually, and the history, there's this area that I live in was only settled in the mid 1800s to late 1800s, so we don't have the colonial sites and stuff. So a lot of the areas that I hunt are the river and the creeks, mainly because of they were the main waterways, and so some of the older history here is in the rivers. So
sure.
I always try to use a water machine. So I'm just now, I haven't lived in this area all that long, so I'm still exploring a lot of the area here and exploring the rivers. Luckily, I live only about 5 to 10 miles in one direction is a river, and then a creek just maybe 4 to 5 miles, a major creek where a lot of the local history around, and so I tend to go get in the river as often as I can. But have you ever done any type of river or along the river?
No. Oh, sure. I mean, just because I don't know it now, I've done every kind of hunting. Hell, I was even down at in the Chesapeake Bay and had a bull shark come in on me, detecting down at Scottish Cliff, Southern Maryland. And then I never went back
to having that conversation today about those bull sharks in the river.
Oh, they are. They're brackish water sharks, and they come up into the bay in the Potomac River, and I was down there just fooling around with my buddies, and we had one come in on us, and needless to say, I never went back in the brackish water.
Wow. Yeah,
but around here, yeah, well, we have to worry about snakes in our creeks right now. We do have a lot of venomous snakes here, but I love creek hunting. I mean, I know where there's golden creeks. I mean, every creek along these old roads, somebody would have stopped and had a drink. A lot of the battlefields are here, and a lot of people do this. They just do it quietly. And what's good about creek hunting is all you need is a metal detector that discriminates. Because the stuff's shallow, very, very rarely is it deep, and any machine with a good discriminator on it will do well in a creek.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I loved it, and I found a lot of interesting things in creeks. But I don't like the critters that we have in our creeks.
I hear you there. Yeah, I usually see a snake in the water. Most every time I go to the creek, not necessarily the river, a few times at the river, but along the river, not too long ago, I saw a coral snake, and that kind of, that got me a little scared, but.
Yeah, well, we have actually rattlesnakes in the rocks out here where I live. We have the water moccasins, really. And they're nasty little dudes, but you can walk across the river here in the summer from one side to the other, and we have a lot of old crossings, ferries where the soldiers went across. I did very well. I did very well where the soldiers crossed back away from the ferry where they were waiting to cross. My friend, who's since passed away, he actually bought his house because of that. And in one little hill, he dug over 200 Confederate buttons. And he bought the property because the guys were just backed up trying to get across the river. But that's knowing all that stuff, And when summertime comes and the water gets low, you can find things. I have a friend out on the retreat route near Farmville, and his farm is right where the whole Confederate Army came across the creek there. And they were pursued by Union cavalry. And he let a guy go down there once before I met him. And he found a whole case of Confederate cannonballs. And he waited till winter and went down there with his sled and pulled them up the hill on a sled. With a little string. Yeah. So the rivers do have things. The problem with the artifacts, especially if they're iron, is they will just dissolve if you don't get them back in water. I mean, they really fall apart quickly once you pull them out of the river. So you got to kind of preserve them and get them right before they'll just break apart. Very fragile.
Right.
The mini balls and such, all the mini balls and plates, they'll probably look like they did the day they were lost. They don't look like they're dug up coming out.
Right.
But yeah, incredible things in rivers. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you usually use to preserve some of those? Like the cannonballs and stuff like that. Is there something that you prefer to use over other things?
I really never put anything on my relics, and I never really dug any cannonballs out of rivers. Most of my stuff is found on land, and I kind of leave them in the natural state. A lot of people sometimes when they dig them, they'll perform electrolysis on them and maybe put something over it to protect them. But I didn't like the look of that. I just keep, if I would find them in the water, I just leave them there. But I gave away all those cannonballs and many kinds of parrot shells and things I found to my friend because it just kind of made everybody nervous around the house to see all this stuff around the fireplace.
Right.
You got 100-pound parrot sitting there with a fuse in it. People get a little anxious, I guess.
Yeah.
And they're always finding, once a month or two on the morning news, you'll hear about they found a cannonball or a shell somewhere around here. They went out and got it and blew it up some damn place.
A lot of people have died from that.
Yeah.
Trying to
Well,
disarm.
we had a guy down here who probably, I don't know how many years back it was, but yeah, he blew himself up, blew the damn shack up and everything. And I can't remember his name, but he was well known to do this. And, they use what we call a cold bit with water to drill. And this one killed him. So you can't get me to do that. I wouldn't even think about it.
I seen a video of a guy, actually I take that back, I'm not sure where he's from, but he'll drill them, and he's got a drill press in a little shack, and he's got a rope ran, and he's like, I think he's in his house or behind a wall or something, and he'll drill that, and he's got a camera in there that he watches, and he drills, and I thought that's got to be pretty safe.
Yeah, I guess, but I'm not drilling anything.
I'm not brave enough.
I'll tell you something very funny. I told you, Mike, before that as a boy I grew up, I went to Nativity School in Washington, and our playground was Fort Stevens. And I think that's where I kind of got interested, even though I was a young boy. We would scratch up the mini balls in the schoolyard. And later on, when I got into relic hunting, I got permission to hunt a place not far away, and I read in a regimental diary about they were shooting these bolt parrot shells for target. That's what they used them for. They're solid parrots, flat noses. So I'm out in this area, and I found the area where they were shooting these shells. And I dug this big artillery shell, and, man, I did everything I could, put it on the back seat, put it under a pillow, and made sure it wouldn't blow up on my way home. And when I got home, I discovered it was solid iron.
Oh, wow.
A bolt parrot with no shell.
Wow.
They just used them to measure the target or knock down a structure or something. But I thought, what a dumbass you are.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you wanted to talk about the used market, and I've got something about that too. But I have one little thing at least to add. But what'd you have in mind?
On the used market?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, just looking through what's available to sell. I mean, hey, what's the best detector and the worst detector there is?
Oh, geez, I don't know that I could answer that. I mean, when you're talking the best, I mean, like you said earlier, they all have their thing. I mean,
well, what would be the most popular detector now? And it has that, it has that, to me, it's the most popular, which makes it the best, right?
No.
Yet it's the worst. And you know which one it is?
Which one?
The AT Pro. It's the best detector because most people buy it, and it's the worst detector because it's in the shop all the damn time.
I've never had an issue with the AT Pros, and I know what have you seen?
I've seen it going to the shop too many times.
Yours?
Oh, I got rid of mine quick.
Did you?
I think mine may have been here half a day, but I like the AT Gold though. I enjoyed that with that smaller coil, but I never took it in the water. I think the problems were in the water.
Well, did you get it when they first came out?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm always the first guy, man.
They were having tons of issues when they first come out, but I think they rectified all that real quick, if I remember right. I
Looking at
love.
eBay, you'd think there was a rut on them. I mean, I've never seen so many AT Pros. MX, the whites, MX Pro.
MX Sport.
Man, that's just, and well, the Sport's not too bad right now, but that MXT Pro, I mean,
Oh, okay.
they're
MX.
all over the internet. I mean, for used detectors. You know, people just unloading them, and that wasn't a bad machine for an MXT. Really, it was pretty fast processor.
Yeah, I really like. There's so many things I like about the AT Pro. I'll be honest with you. I have one I traded over a year ago now, I believe, and I still haven't used it. But I have a big respect for the AT Pro.
Right.
I think they changed. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think the AT Pro changed the hobby in my mind. I can tell you in Ohio, most people are coin shooters. They want old silver coins, and I'm telling you, I never seen a detector that could do it as good as an E-Track, even close, until the AT Pro come out, and people started buying this $500 detector and just finding silver and stuff like crazy. It's a good relic detector, and I don't know about in Virginia, but I know in Ohio guys use them and stuff. I'm not a huge fan. Don't get me wrong. I honestly have very little time, but I have a lot of respect for what Garrett did and what they accomplished with that detector.
Well, let me tell you something very interesting. At the same shop where I told you about the cheap CTX 3030s and everybody wanting the X35 coil. When I asked them, hey, you got anything I can, I said, I got a ton of detectors. I'll trade you some for that CTX 3030. And you know what he said to me?
What's that?
Well, the only one I really want, do you have any AT Pros? Huh. And I said, nah, not a one. And because everybody here loves that detector also.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're great detectors. I think they're, I'll tell you, I was kind of feeling like they really missed with the Max, and Gypsy's using a Max now, and she really likes it, and she had the AT Pro. She's used some Mind Labs. She's used, she was a dealer. I think we were both dealers about the same time. Didn't we figure that out, Gypsy?
And mine might have even been longer ago because I don't even think the Mind Lab E-Track was out yet.
But she's like me.
I think it came out later.
When she was a dealer, she would try different detectors and know them and get to know them and stuff. So we've both had, not like you, please don't get me wrong, but we've had our fair share of detectors, and for her to say she likes the Max, and I know what she's used over the years and liked and stuff, that I think that kind of speaks volumes. And her and I have talked about it. I think they've kind of, a lot of people got real good with the AT Pro. It's simple, turn on and go. It's not a sparky detector. They get the Max, they think they can crank it up, and it's too sensitive. They're running it too hot. That's my idea. I don't know for sure, but I know Gypsy really likes hers, and she's doing really good with it.
Yeah, well, here in hot ground, it's very nervous.
I'm sure.
I say it's nervous. It's a lot of noise, and you've got to fight through it. And I know you can, but it's you have to have a good ear to hear that high tone in with all that iron. But it seems to be able to pick through iron very well. You certainly get good targets in the iron with the iron.
Yeah. I like using the smaller 5x8 coil when I'm, running, like I'm currently hunting an area. It's an old homestead, and it's just loaded with iron. And when I usually hunt an area like that that's just so loaded, I'll start out basically, I change it up a bit. I'll start out with the smaller coil, try to get in between some of that iron, and I'll listen for the larger iron. I'll go ahead and dig a lot of the larger iron pieces just to get them out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I've found and from hunting old sites like that where there's so much iron, especially the big iron, that sometimes there's some good targets laying a little deeper underneath all that. So I go ahead and pull that out, and then I'll go back over an area once I've cleaned it out pretty well, and then I'll change the coil to a larger, coil maybe, and start pulling, a lot of the deeper targets that's, masked by the big iron pieces and stuff.
Yeah, well, it definitely changed the way people hunted. I mean, it was a cool design, but once again, that's not my thing.
Yeah.
I like something quick and can really get in the iron, and you've got something good without hearing all that other racket.
Mm-hmm. That's what I like about the impact, and the multi-cruiser, that FE volume, where you can run that thing wide open, turn that volume down so it's not blasting in your ear. I think they're amazing. For me personally, and I haven't used the machines you have, they work better in iron than anything I've used.
Yeah.
For me. Maybe you've used some stuff that I haven't that works better, but I really like them in the iron. I think they really, really excel in the iron.
Yeah, they do, and that's probably why I go with that brand right now. But it was a really good iron machine that will go back a little bit of time was those White's Classics.
Really?
Those classic detectors, the IDXs. That was a little fast mover, and you could really pull good targets out of the iron. And then my friend Bill Crabtree would modify them for people and give them a little bit more depth, and put a ground balance on them. And, the only thing that I had hoped to ever get was that little mod for the tone ID, but the guy stopped making them. But that was a great little machine, the classic IDX. I mean, that would there really do a good job in iron.
Now, no way to turn down the iron, though, is there?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no. No, you got your Excedrin headaches for many years.
Right.
Before the iron volume came on. I mean, you just knew you were going to get yourself blasted, so you just kind of got used to it in a way. Kind of lowered your headphones and the volume a little bit, but I've always hunted iron, and it's quite a daunting task. I like the F-19 Fisher and the F-44, a little less cost with the iron volume on those machines. The the F-19 has that elliptical coil, and it's got like a pitch mode to it. And that was actually one of my favorite relic machines in colonial sites.
Yeah.
I took a lot of Spanish with that and a lot of buttons with it. And this was after going through the area with the Deas.
Oh,
it was quite surprising. Yeah, it was quite surprising. A little area hill we had. I dug a 1793 Classic head, large cent, and a bunch of buttons and these little artillery buttons from the 1830s and 20s. Whole bunch that I didn't dig with the Deas, and I couldn't figure out. Maybe it was the ground conditions, who knows? But we were popping them that morning, I'll tell you that.
I had the F-22 for a bit, and I really liked that because it has the iron volume as well, where you can turn the iron volume down. And that's a great little feature for relic hunting. And but I sent it home with my stepson when he went home this last over the summer. And but yeah, I agree with you. They're great little relic detectors and great for the price. Very, very much.
Did you ever get your Mighty Mite? Bill Mahan's Mighty Mite?
No.
Mike had asked me if I ever had one of the Bill Mahan's Mighty Mites, and no, but I have a Gardner 220A in my closet, man. and it looks like it's brand new, and something Mike would really love to have right now. Mike, guess what I have in my closet?
What?
I have a brand new, never used original golden saber by Tesoro.
Really?
Oh.
That if I send it to my friend Frank, and I haven't talked to Frank Saunders in a while, I still have to send him the Desperado I have back, but he may be able to put two tones on it.
Yeah, I've actually talked to him about that. We've had him on at least once. Did we have him on twice? Maybe. I like Frank a lot. He's a great guy. My outlaw is in Ohio right now, and I'm going to send that out to him. And he's going to two-tone it and not only is he going to put two-tone, he's going to make it to where I can turn the iron volume down.
Well, that's the truth. Then you'll be in heaven, Mike.
I will. You're right. I will be in heaven, George.
Check me out when you get there, because I'll be there really by then.
Really?
I'll already be there.
Are you really? You already there?
No, I will be there by the time that's done.
Yes. What's he working on for you?
Oh, no. We did a Desperado. Remember the old Desperado?
Oh, yeah.
Nobody ever heard of it? Yeah, I've got it here. He needs to go in and increase the volume for me.
That's
it's just the one. Experimental.
Yeah, I was going to say that experimental one you got.
Yeah, you see the picture on his site.
Yeah,
it's in a little shoebox around here.
Mm-hmm.
One day I'll send it back to him.
Yeah, it's a neat little setup. Yeah, Frank's a great guy.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to sending my. So you got an old silver saber? Is that what you said, or the saber?
Well, I had every one they ever made. Yeah, it's brand new. It's original. It's the first one, the big box.
Ooh, really?
Never been used. Yeah, I paid $100 for it.
How'd you come across that?
I'm always looking, brother. I'm always looking. I'm always looking for a bargain.
That's a bargain new. Wow.
Well, so line does a good job.
That's the one that has the box mount underneath, right?
Yeah. They had an El Dorado.
Yeah.
They had the gold and the Royal Saber. The Royal Saber had the two-tone, and it also had the blanker on it. This one's just straight detector, but people still like those. And this one here, I got kind of a trifecta. I've got a new Stingray 2 water machine, and I've got that one there, and I've got the old Desperado. All of them need some action.
We could definitely put those to use for you. I'm telling you.
I tell you, the Stingray 2 was one of the greatest machines ever made. Everybody was bragging about how the new machines find the gold chain at the saltwater.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you hunted saltwater with the Stingray 2, you would just balance the salt with the discriminant mode, the TR mode. Set it to TR and then just take your discriminant and balance the salt water out. That detector finds gold chains. In the TR mode, it found a lot of gold rings for me up like Ocean City, Maryland, and I used to hunt up there with it. It's a great machine for finding gold, and you can hunt it in a GEB disc mode or a all metal auto tune. It's still probably, I think, the best machine they ever made for water hunting.
I know you love technology, and you love trying new things, but I don't know about you. I find it funny how people lose their mind when something new comes out and they've got to get rid of their old detector and they're jumping on. You look back and there's detectors 20 plus years old that'll still get the job done and get it done damn good.
Yeah,
I'm with you. I like the new technology. I like trying new detectors. I love what's going on over in Europe and all that, but I can also, pick up some old technology and still be in love with it. They still get the job done, and people are so quick to, people were losing their mind that the Macs took so long to be released after they announced it. And it's like, guys, it's not going to change the world. Nothing's come out that's changed the world. I mean, you look over 20 years, we've progressed and stuff, but there's nothing that really just changed everything.
Well,
I'm curious, George, how many, what would be some of your all-time favorite detectors that you've used in the past? Some that you really think that just, they just nothing like it on the market anymore.
Well, we've got to go back to the what we call real game changers. With Whites came out with a 6 dB, and you're going back into the probably late 60s, early 70s, and Tesoro had a Cortez, a synchronized phase reaction, and Whites had the 6 dB. Well, they were motion discriminators is what they were, and you had to move them really fast. But, I used to have to find a target in all metal and hover over the target with the coil and switch to TR and then move it away and do reverse discrimination. And that one really was good. And then, you went through all your normal detectors and everybody had something similar. But when the that MindLab Sovereign came out, oh my God, that BBS technology, with the 17 frequencies. And I mean, I would go all over the place, all the old parks again, and just was loading up on silver with it. It was slow, especially if you tried to hunt it in relic hunting. It had a very slow recovery speed, which made it tough. But if you were going coin shooting in some of these old parks, man, you would load up with coins. And that really was a game changer. And then the pulse detector with the ground balance. You may not know, Gypsy, Mike knows, but I helped develop the White's TDI. That was a project I was involved in, and I've always liked pulse machines. But that was one of the game changers. And I know MindLab had a GP3000 out there at the time, and a couple of other machines were out there. But those machines would allow you to hunt this terrible ground I have near me in Culpeper, Virginia, where VLFs just don't work there. The ground is so mineralized, they just can't work. They identify everything as being bad targets when they're good, unless they're real shallow. So a ground balance and pulse came along. I really liked the Explorer too. It was heavy. I love the tones in that machine. I like the way it sounded. It sounded really good. The E-Track I love, but too heavy. So that's another good machine. So I liked a lot of MindLabs, believe it or not. It's just this new one I can't get all in love with. I just didn't go goo-goo over it. It's funny. Funniest damn thing I see about it. How people hold their fish up when they catch a whopper, and they take pictures with their fish. I see pictures of people holding up a damn equinox like they landed a whopper or something, and they're sitting there smiling. They don't have pictures of their own damn kids up there, but they got a picture of themselves holding a damn equinox. Man, that's something wrong with that picture. I don't get that myself.
That's funny.
But, everything was kind of cool. I used to like the old CZ. The CZ6A was a great saltwater beach machine. And, I like the little ping on the CZ70 Pro. You hear this little ping, you knew you had a deep silver coin. There's so many favorites. My favorite Tesoro of all time was an Inca, believe it or not. The old Inca, big box Inca, and it was really the only time when I got it that I really dug a 10-inch quarter that was measured at 10 inches. I mean, I couldn't believe how deep it was.
Wow.
And I found that in an old Inca. And other than that, Inca, they've all been children.
What was the Inca? Was that a Tesoro?
Tesoro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an early Tesoro. I had a push button and it had a depth reading to 8 inches.
Oh,
and I was hunting an old park in Bladensburg, Maryland, over by the Battle of Bladensburg, and which was during the War of 1812. And I got a nice signal. I mean, it didn't have a VDI, but I dug down and dug and dug and dug, and damn, there wasn't a silver quarter in the hole. Now, back then I was excited about it, but now after digging, flowing hairs and drape busts and Spanish reals and gold Spanish, and it's not the same thrill anymore. But back then it was quite a thrill to find something that deep.
Mm-hmm.
And now I guess I'm sort of like, when I want to go, I know I'll find something. I know I'll take the right piece of equipment, and I'll go out, and maybe I can only get 2 or 3 hours in, and then everything starts to hurt, and it's time to pack up and go home, and throw it in the box with all the other stuff. Let's see what else is interesting coming along.
I'd like to see his collection.
Well, you would like to see the original one. The collection I have now is only for the past 17 years. The one you wanted to see was my original Civil War collection and coin collection.
What happened to it?
Well, I had college to pay for.
Oh, okay.
For a certain person. I gave a lot of it away to family and friends who'd come by my house. Hey, that's pretty cool, George.
Yeah, Gypsy, he's not into the finds as much as the metal detecting. Are you getting that now?
Do I?
Yeah.
I was telling her how you're more into the detectors than the finds.
But I was like you guys back in the beginning, It was all about the finds, man. And we could go out, and I had 2 good partners. We did a lot of research. And we would travel all up and down through Virginia and Maryland, D.C., and we did our research, and, man, we were scoring big time. I mean, I'd go out and 6, 7 plates was my best day in one day.
Wow.
People go their whole life, and they don't even find one.
Right.
But, we kind of got sold on it, and the numbers came out. We'd dig 100 plates in a year or whatever it was, and just thousands of buttons and coins and ID tags and every darn thing you could find. But you had to do your work. There were many days where you walked the field and didn't find anything.
Right.
And, we always played it straight. We weren't trespassing. We'd always knock and ask. And here's a little tip for you. Don't take the ugly guy to the door because he'll scare the kids.
Yeah, that's my problem, George.
You probably won't get permission that way.
Yeah, that's good sound advice. Sometimes I knock on a door and I hear the lock, the deadbolt click over and the curtain's getting closed, and yep.
And nobody shoots you thinking you're a bear, right, or Bigfoot at the front door.
Right. Yep. I think I'm gonna start taking the kids and asking permission.
Well, let me tell you something. Sometimes that's not bad. What I used to do was when I know where I was going, let's say we were going to look for farm camps along the old roads. So I'd take extra John Deere hats, and then I'd wear one, and I'd wear bib overalls. I looked like a guy who was interested in farming. And you knock on the door, and the farmer comes to the door, and he sees you, and he kind of associates with the way you look, and you ask him, and he says, "Yeah, go ahead." And then you give him a nice hat, and then you're in like Flint.
Yeah, that's always been my thing, but that's how I dress anyhow. When I'm metal detecting, I've usually got bibs on, and so I'm definitely help. I grew up on a farm in a farming community in Ohio, so I'm all about that anyhow. That's just natural to me. That's why I usually get farm fields no problem. Mm-hmm.
Well, if you came around here dressed like that, and some of the places where I found relics, they wouldn't open the door for you. They just leave you out on the porch.
Yeah, right.
When in Rome, dress as the Romans do, they said.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I got a friend right now texting me. He's sounds like he just he must be home now they found large scents today. He's in Ohio. Found large scents and all kinds of good
Wow, that's
stuff.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. Something
Yeah.
you'd said about used detectors that kind of got me thinking. Something I've kind of thought about is you can kind of see how good a detector's doing, a new detector, by how their last model is doing in the used market.
Yeah.
And I noticed, I'm curious if either one of you caught this. I seen when the Max was coming out, the AT Pro, you could snatch those up. Well, you maybe even cheaper, but I was seeing them listed for $325.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more depending on what they had, but now I've seen them go up. And that
Yep.
kind of
I've seen them go up too.
that kind of tells me a lot of people got the Max. It didn't pan out like they thought, and people are keeping a hold of their AT Pros and stuff, or going back to AT Pros. So that's kind of my theory on it. What's your guys' theory?
Well, you never know what's going to come back. Like anything goes around, comes around. People are always, they make a rash decision to buy something and regret it later, and then want what they had before. Everybody thinks the next new detector is going to be better, but in reality, a lot of times it's not really. It may have a few extra features. It may have cranked the sensitivity up a little bit, but you may not be comfortable with that. I remember we had talked about the original F75. I had one of the first ones, and I'm always the first guy in, so don't think I was number 3 or 4. I know this stuff's coming, and I grab it right away. And that was one of the best metal detectors I ever used. And then one day it had to go back, and they dumbed it down. I think I told you they neutered mine. And you send it in, and it comes back cold, man. Everybody was bitching it was too sensitive. It was too hot. So they made it cold. I'd rather have hot than cold any day in a metal detector. And after that, I just didn't want any more of those. Even though they're fine detectors, it turned me off.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the Fisher Technetics, the T2 and the F75, I've never been a fan. I found them just too hot. They were too hot for me. I'm with you, and I understand where you're coming from, and I like a hot detector, but I had one of the first LTD. No, I mean, I had not like I got one of the very first ones that come out, but I had one when they first came out, and I'll tell you, that thing was chattery. Man, so much chatter with that thing, and then a T2, the same thing. And I'm not saying it's bad, but I've found in my personal experience, I can find other detectors that work better for me, and I don't have to listen to all that chatter and try to interpret. And that's been my own experience. But I know guys that love the T2, love the F75, and they, I've had guys tell me, well, it took me a good bit to learn it, but once I learned it, I do really good with it and stuff. But I've always found something I think works better, at least for me.
Well, there's always going to be something that works better for you. Nothing really works great where I live because of the mineralized soil. So I'm looking to find probably different machines, and somebody else may want to find wherever they dig because of my conditions here. A lot of detectors don't work at all. You just leave them at home. And I tend to stay away from that.
Now, the Fisher Technetics, they do work pretty well in your conditions, better than your average VLF, if I'm not mistaken.
The Fisher?
Yeah.
The F19 doesn't do too bad.
Oh, nice.
But the rest of them, I don't think so. But they've improved the EMI on them. Those DST or whatever it is that they've added to it. I mean, they're nice machines,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but how damn old are they now?
Yeah.
How many years have we been talking about an F-75?
Yeah. Yeah. I
A
agree.
long time. Time goes by quick. People don't realize it. Those
Yeah.
machines have been out there for many years. And how
Uh,
about something new, Fisher?
yeah.
Instead of a mid-price machine, how about let's come out with something that'll shake everybody up.
Mm-hmm. Now,
Been a long time.
what's your thoughts on Garrett, White's, Fisher, Technetics? That these American companies. Do you think they can keep up? Do you think they will keep up?
Really don't think they're bothered by the foreign markets.
No.
And I think with like whites, this is just me. I mean, I grew up on whites. I tested for whites. You know what bandwidth means when you talk to an engineer?
No.
It means there's no money.
Okay.
And I had always asked why the TDI was never made and put in a waterproof box like it is today.
Mm-hmm.
And we can talk about that in a minute. And the quote was no bandwidth, which meant no money to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the biggest problems they had to solve was the battery. To get the power of a TDI over an SL, you had to have a bigger battery pack. Mm-hmm. And it wouldn't work in one of those beach under cases. So less power in this new one, and then you can get it to work. But you're going to, what's an inch or two in a depth with a PI? It's probably not a lot to get shook up about to have that thing waterproofed.
Right.
But they've hardwired the coil into the box, which seems to help give it a little more depth. I don't know why that is, but I'm very happy to see they did that. But I think everybody's hoping that Fisher's going to blow the world away, and everybody that would have scrambled for that White's waterproof TDI, I don't think they're going to scramble until they see what happens with Fisher. Fisher's got everybody on hold pretty much, especially in the water hunting. I've still got my Sovereign Elite. That's the only detector I'll really like to use on the beach. When you run over a bottle cap, it goes blah. You never dig them. And you know what? It found me a lot of gold jewelry and rings. And you get this Equinox, which is really cool. And you dig, these guys are just, my friend Max, I think everybody knows him on the internet. He's a guy that digs down Virginia Beach. So I've known the cat 30 years. And we used to always meet and talk down there. And, man, they just dig these bottle caps like there's no end to it. What mine lab should dig a bottle cap?
Right.
If it can do it in if you can tell it in BBS, why can't you tell it in simultaneous multiple frequency? Why does it do what it does? That's surprising to me.
Yeah.
That turned a lot of people off, man. So they're all different.
Yeah, I hope that the American manufacturers come around, but I've kind of lost my I've got my doubts now. I feel like I don't think the Max was a bad thing. I know you love it, Gypsy, but they put it in the same housing. It's still a single frequency. It didn't come out and blow the socks off of anyone. I mean, I think it's a step up in some ways, but when you've got companies like MindLab running multiple frequencies at the same time and a lightweight, well balanced detector, you've got the multi-cruiser, which Macro Nocta still has not really taken off here in the United States, and I think when they do, I think they'll gain more and more ground. I feel like the American manufacturers are just kind of sitting back on their hands and letting the world pass them by to some extent.
Well, I don't know. They can't pay engineers to sit on their hands. And those guys don't work for free. So
Well, where's it at? Where's the mind blowing? Where's Macro Nocta just introduced a big DD coil waterproof wireless optional $300 entry level detector. Roughly
Simplex, right?
Yeah, I think now we haven't used nobody's. I mean, I think I love the company, but I'm not ready to. I haven't had one in my hands. I'm not ready to say, hey, it's a great detector. But I think that's innovative and a really innovative idea. Usually you don't get a big coil on a $200 to $350 detector. And
No.
offering that big double D and everything else, I'm really excited to, see what that does. They're announcing a simultaneous multiple frequency detector where Garrett, released the Max in the same housing that people were having issues with. It is heavy and it's not balanced and it's not, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, George. I just, Fisher, I think they have some great detectors. I think they've got a real solid line, but like you said, how long's the F-75 and the T2 been out and the F-70 and where's these new detectors they've been talking about for the last 2 years?
Well, they're not here.
Yeah, they're not here. Where are they?
Being developed, my friend. Development research.
I mean, the people, well, while they're standing by developing and researching, companies like MindLab and oh, my mind just went break. Just went blank.
Nocta
Macro. I mean, they're pumping out detectors. People are getting upset at Nocta Macro for pumping out so many, which I find absurd because everybody's been complaining about, the American companies for years not putting stuff out fast enough. And then, I don't know. I in my eyes, that's just how I see it. And maybe I'm wrong. And I hope Garrett right now is working on a frequency detector in a better package. I hope Fisher's going to wow us with some really cool stuff. I think White's, I think you and I talked about it, that MX Sport. I mean, I talked to people, I know some people who love that detector, but I haven't talked to a person that hasn't had it back at least once with issues. And I know some guys have had it back 2 and 3 times with issues with it. And, that's not a good thing. And I've heard it's heavy, different things. And I just, I wonder what's going through their mind right now after Macro Nocta made that big announcement. And after, they had to have lost sales when the Deus was introduced. I mean, that's been one of the hottest detectors out there. And why?
And you got the Oryx coming, the XP Oryx, which probably going to be a gold machine.
Yeah.
They had done some work with made some detectors called DPARs, DPAR 600, sold them in Africa, and they weren't allowed to sell them anywhere else. So chances are, because of that high frequency, that this Oryx is probably going to be a DPAR 600 and now with an XP, brand.
Mm-hmm. Right.
More or less gold machine, high frequency.
Yeah. But a lot of guys are liking those high frequencies for rally continent stuff too.
Yeah, I use them. I mean, they're pretty cool. You think that all you would dig is small stuff, but actually that's not true. You used to think that, the frequencies, the higher frequencies lose depth and they won't find, high conductive metals. Well, throw all that out the window, man. These detectors will find just about anything at any frequency you hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. You know, I kind of talk down about them, but you know, I hope all of them, you know, come out with something. But I think they're just quickly falling behind in some aspects. You know,
So what drives that also? How does that advertise? Now, you know how I feel about YouTube. You know, now hear me out, Gypsy. I want you to hear me out. Okay. I don't dislike YouTube. I dislike people who try to become famous on YouTube, who don't know a damn
Right.
thing,
hmm
and
Right.
use their physical attributes or their charming personalities to get out there, and their marketing ability to sell. They're salespeople, and it's a cheaper way
Right.
for manufacturers to do business. But it doesn't mean I don't like people who have passion. You can see it in their videos. They're not out to become famous. They enjoy metal detecting. They're good. They can make videos and have fun doing it. Now that's a different YouTube I like.
Right. Right.
If you
And I
look at
think
that detect. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, and I think you hit the nail on the head right there. I mean, when you see the passion, I mean, I started my YouTube channel basically because I had some health issues and some major health issues, and had kind of was given a 5 to 10 year at the time to live, 5 to 10 years maybe,
Whoa.
and at the time I was like, well, what do I kind of looking at my life and evaluating it and saying, well, what do I love the most besides my family? Well, my thing was metal detecting. My passion for metal detecting, my passion for, I mean, it's what I want to be doing when I'm, almost over any other thing in life is I love to be out metal detecting when I'm not, with my family or doing other things. So that was the whole purpose of me starting my YouTube channel. I never expected it to take off to where it is today and become what it is today. But it was basically just to share with others, my passion for the hobby and my passion for, history and preserving, history, one item at a time, because you just never know what you're going to dig up.
Sure, and that's the right thing to do for YouTube. When I watched the Detectival, I was wondering who the hell found anything there. Why would I pay all that money to go to England if you don't find anything? And quite frankly, other than D-Lick coming out of a box in the ground and the announcements they made, there would be nothing to show but a bunch of ham and eggers all trying to get in a picture so they can show their faces to get subscribers. That just turned me off, turned my stomach. Same old people doing the same old thing. And I just don't get that whole deal. And then you have people now that I guess you got to pay them money to get extra. What is that called? Where you pay somebody you're watching so a fee to get some kind of extra information or extra footage or whatever.
Oh,
I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
People do that on YouTube. That's you have to pay them a fee, and then they'll show you some other things about themselves or whatever.
Oh, I don't know.
I know that my youngest son is like into the games and the gamers, and he said that there's a lot of people on YouTube now that are making a lot of money just having people come on, watch them to play these video games, and it blows my mind. Some of them are very young, extremely young. Like my youngest son's 15, but he said that there's some young ones on there 20 5 years old making tons of money just by playing video games on YouTube. It's insane.
I know
Sorry,
the name
let's
now.
go off subject, but
Well, no, that's true. I know the name. It's called being a patron. You're going to patronize the people. The girl with the wild hair color who does Garrett videos. I forget her name, but you have to be. You can be a patron for her. Send her money, and I don't know when you get something extra. I don't know what you get, but that's one.
On my YouTube channel, I just, once you hit so much, they start adding ads and stuff like that. And I haven't put any money on my channel or anything like that, but I do know that people can now. There's a little dollar sign that shows up on in my feed that if someone wants to give me some money, they can. It's kind of mind blowing. No one has yet, of course.
I wonder if there's any way to give money to shut some of those other ones down. I may dip into my 401k.
George, it's funny you bring this up. I just recently had a talk with somebody. The hobby's changed, and I'll tell you what, I love what I do. I pay for the shows out of my pocket every week. I pay for my website and stuff. And I do it because I love it. Now, I would love to get sponsored to where it's not out of my pocket. But I've also passed on a couple possible deals because if I'm going to do it, it's going to be with a company I like. I'm not trying to get rich here. I'm not trying, but to be honest with you, I'd love it to where somebody sponsored me and it wasn't stressful every month to come up with the money to pay for what I do. Paying for for Skype,
the
for
Spreaker,
and all that. But I'm with you. I mean, I think it's weird coming from me because I am out there and I'm doing the podcast. I like to write articles and everything. But and even though I've been at it, I think 23 years, 22, 23, 24, I don't know. I don't consider myself an expert. I'm not trying to, I will share stuff. I'll share my ideas. I'll share my thoughts, but I don't claim to be an expert. I don't claim to know it all by any means. But I'm sure you could agree with 20 plus years of experience, there is some knowledge gained there. But my point is, I see these people that go out and buy their first detector and everybody's self-promoting. Everybody's trying to make money. Everybody's trying to make a name for themselves. And I kind of stay in my own little thing and do my little thing and look ahead. And I don't care about my numbers. I don't care what another podcast numbers are, or how many hits I get or anything like that. And I just enjoy what I do. But you're right. There's so many people that are trying to make a living, trying to make money off of it. It's like, I guess if you're passionate about it, it's okay. I mean, there's some people that are really passionate about it, and they like Gypsy. I think if Gypsy keeps going, I think she'll really turn it into something. But she's on the show because her and I met, and we just talk and talk and talk metal detecting. I mean, her and I hit it off, man. Her passion for the hobby and I talked to her earlier today for a few minutes and she's like, God, I really want to get out. I mean, like she was stressed. She couldn't get out today for whatever reason. And she's like, I'll get out in a couple of days though. And I'll get out detecting. I mean, she goes and goes and goes. And, but I think she could turn it into something and I think she will, but I'm okay with that. But yeah, there's kind of a gray area and a fine line, but these people that, something that drives me crazy. And actually, this is my second article I'm working on. There's so much information. I worked on it last night. I just got to get it uploaded and stuff. There's so much misinformation on, YouTube and stuff. And here's one I think you'll agree with me on. Somebody recently said to me, hey, do you know so-and-so? He's famous for his nail board, the famous nail board. No detector is meant to work out of the ground. You can't compare detectors properly. You can't. I hate those stupid nail boards. I hate watching these people compare detectors and judge detectors because of their test garden. That's not real world. Now, if you want to have 1,000 different targets buried with stuff around them then we'll talk. But when you have 5, 6, 10, 15 items buried, and you're trying to compare detectors and say one's better than the other, I think it's ridiculous. And what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I only care about my ground. I mean, tests don't matter to me. Mm-hmm. Unless you're doing the tests where I live, and I throw coins on the ground and go outside to see the detectors working, but I got to go dig, man. I can't waste time doing stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I want to get out and dig the target for real and see what it is and hear what it sounded like and try to understand why the numbers changed because of the ground mineralization. So what anybody does anywhere else doesn't affect me. And I don't, it's just the truth about it is most tests, in my opinion, are useless. But a lot of people like them, and so they'll watch them and they'll enjoy them. I just never found much interest in it.
Yeah.
I can go 10 miles from here and be in sugar sand, and I can go 20 miles from here and no VLF machine works. So, if you want to do those tests, go right ahead. But let's see, dig something out of the ground with a bunch of nails in the hole. Now you got something.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I hate that. Anytime I know you do the same. I have 3 coins buried. And it's just to make sure the detector works. I don't put anything into that, but I want to make sure it works. I kind of want to see what they're all 3 dimes even. I don't even have different denominations, and I want to see my VDI. I can figure out, I can figure out what a quarter is going to be if I can figure out a dime, and I can roughly figure out where a penny's going to fall if I can figure out, So that's what I do, and then I go out and hunt and dig and listen to my tones and all that. And so many, there's reviews on YouTube where the review is done all through a test bed. And that's just absurd to me. Yeah. That is absolutely absurd to me, George.
Well, that's mostly how it's done. I mean, it's, it's just part of the deal. I don't see it where it changes, everybody's got a hole dug into a side of a hill now, even the detectors I like. That's how they test them. I buy them, and and recently, I did some testing for macro and octo, and I kind of lost some of my, my independence from people. People in Virginia used to say I was the barometer of metal detecting. That they judged. No, they really did. They judged an opinion of mine based on, what I found out when I was in the field. And by doing, the TDI was a labor of love, but by Dale doing testing for companies, you're now a shill, or, I've heard some comments like, now you're a shill. No, I'm not. I requested to test that machine. I was given that opportunity, and now I'm back to being independent again.
Yeah.
If I don't want people to really and truly believe everything I have to say. It's just I'd like to make sure people understand that you're not going to get the real information until you get out there in your area and use the equipment based on, well, I've talked about this, I'm blue in the face.
Yeah.
Get up with the local people who know the ground and know, and tell them what you're after. And the local guys are the one that's going to help you the most.
Yeah.
You can watch YouTube. It's entertaining. I think it's funny. Sometimes I turn it on just to get a good laugh.
Yeah.
But I also understand that's how the world works now.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me to swallow, but I came up at a different age with no communication, nothing,
Right.
and I had to learn everything the hard damn way. And I guess trying to take the easy approach to it is what really frustrates me the most. There's nothing easy about it. You got to put your time in. You gotta have a lot of failures to have some successes. Got to walk a lot of ground. You got to walk a lot of ground to be successful. You got to do a lot of research. You got to spend a lot of money. And nowadays it seems like everybody takes the short track to success, and they're going to miss out on a lot of the enjoyment of discovery that you'll make on your own.
Yeah, I agree. And then you get these people that have been metal detecting for 6 months, and they know it all, and they're quick to tell you that they've got the best detector and everything else is junk, or all that, and then that's aggravating. I can sit here and say I'm disappointed that Fisher and White's and kind of fall, but you know what? They still have good detectors. It might be older a little bit older technology, and we haven't seen anything new. Garrett still, they all have some good detectors. Now, what works best for you in your area, and what works for your mentality? I'm not a fan of the T2, but I know guys who have killed it with a T2 and love the T2, but it's not even on my list of top 20 for me. I just don't even, but yet I can appreciate it because of the finds and how people have gotten really good with it. But I think we're in a strange time. Some of the crazy stuff you see, and you're right. It's what works for you might not work for me, might work for Gypsy, might not. Different grounds. What we're used to, what we've used in our past, what our hearing, what might sound good to me sounds bad to you, kind of thing, and so it's tough. I'm not even going to bring it up. I'll bring it up at a later time, but. We did have a question. What's the best VLF machine in the Culpeper soil, in your opinion?
Well, from what I understand now, down to a certain depth, both the multi-cruiser and the Equinox seem to be able to work. Now, that's from a trusted friend, but the one we used forever was a 5900 DI Whites, or the blue and gray, which was the same thing with a meter. It had a 10-turn ground balance mode stack tuner, and you would hunt in all metal. The only thing that really would discriminate would be something very shallow or a plate for sure. But you had a headache. You have to pretty much dig every target. Everything that was good would come back as bad. Mm-hmm. But you could balance the ground. Now, you had to do it about every 10 feet, but that's what everybody used as far as VLFs went in all the years I've hunted up there.
What's on the market right now that you would consider, something that you could still buy from a dealer that's new? What's the best one out there now, would you say?
For a VLF for up there?
Yeah.
Well, I'd have to go with the from what I saw anyhow, I'd have to go with a multi-cruiser or an Equinox.
Okay.
Now, we're only talking about down 6 or 8 inches.
Yeah. In
some areas, we probably won't get that. Just depends on where the bedrock is under the topsoil.
Okay.
And in my findings over the years, and I've been hunting up there for over 40 years, is it's not only the red dirt. I have red dirt here in my front yard. It's not as mineralized. It's the bedrock that comes close to the surface.
Yeah.
I told you I took a piece of bedrock from that area. I'll put a mini ball on it, and I'll balance the bedrock, and I'll put a mini ball on it and then go over it, and it says it's iron. every time. And that's how strong that mineral is. The only machine in recent times that did it was I had the bliss tool from Bulgaria.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually the only VLF machine I ever got to actually come back as a good target on that mini ball on that rock.
Oh, wow.
Now, that rock has somehow disappeared, so I never really got a chance yet to test the multi-cruiser, but there's a couple videos from trusted people I know who do detector tests, showing them up there at the mountain up there, Cedar Mountain, which is right outside of Culpeper, digging artifacts with comparing cruiser to Equinox, and both of them are finding targets.
I think
but you don't go to, yeah.
I think I might have seen that video. Might have come across
But you can't go up there without a ground balancing pulse, man. You're wasting your time. Whatever's left up there is way down in the ground, and the GPX seems to be the lord of the manor. It outdigs the TDI. I mean, it's gotten a little more depth, and if you want to find anything up there, if you can get onto the land, because the hunts have ruined it. The farmers that aren't involved in hunts not going to let you go because they think one day somebody's going to drop $60,000 on them to let you come out and hunt. Yeah. So when I used to hunt back there, I hunted all those places.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s, and those people were nice, and we found stuff, but we were handicapped by the equipment. That's why they find so much with these pulses. It's just the way it is, So I got out of that mess and started chasing the iron, and been happy I have, because these machines from overseas are made to handle that. And remember, they sell more in Europe than they'll ever sell in the U.S.
Right.
Noct and all those companies. I mean, that's where their market is. I think a lot of people just can't trust the foreign detectors, and they're worried about getting them repaired. And, quite frankly, I've never had any problems with mine that it needed repair. Mm-hmm. But that's a consideration. We're all used to the American ones, and lately they've been just rehashing or giving you the same thing with a little extra. But nothing that really goes wow about. Mm-hmm. And until somebody wows you, I'm just going to keep searching the world. I always have. Look at emerging technology, and then buy one, see how it does. And if it doesn't do anything, well, shame on me. I at least spent my dime to get it. And nobody can say I work for a company, or people who do trust my opinion know it's honest, and it's being tested in the toughest conditions. So if it works there, it'd probably work anywhere. At least that's what my experience has been.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of what's going on over there and watching. If you had to pick between, I'm not even going to go there. I think.
No, you can. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, if you pretty much said, the Equinox or the multi and that stuff, but you really need a PI. But I mean, if you had to pick one or the other in that mineralized soil, would it be the Equinox? I'm curious which one handles it better, the Equinox or the multi?
It seems like it's a toss-up, really.
Okay.
At least from what I saw, but I wouldn't use any of them up there, quite frankly.
Right.
That's why I got that Thracian, that MP, because that's a ground balancing pulse with inverted tones. Even less than half the cost. Under $1,000, about $700 US, ready to go, man. Quality machine, made really well, like all those machines are, and aluminum box that cuts to the EMI, simplified, and I've got a small coil that'll be here Wednesday, because the big coil's heavy for me, and I got a little Coil Tech 6-inch coil coming in, and that baby's going over to the Colonial Fields this weekend if it doesn't rain, and I'm going to do some testing with it.
How does it do on? How does that do on depth?
Oh, it does great on depth.
Does it? Okay.
The PIs are good on depth, but they don't air test well. They're better in the ground. No PIs we'll give you a good air test. And I don't care about that. I just want to take it over there. And this ground isn't super bad, but it's not good either. And I just want to see if my ears can pick out the good stuff from the iron.
Okay. So have you had much time on it yet?
No, I just got it. Put it together. Tried a couple coils for the weight, and the coils is where all the weight is it's on a telescoping shaft. Yeah. So that big double D is just wearing my arm out. So I'll go small, and then I can take that thing and use it all day. And I want to test battery life. Usually most PIs will only get you 6 hours maybe, and then you'll have to recharge them. And for me, that's not a problem because I can only go 2 to 4 hours now, but at the most 4. But it may cause a problem for someone who is like at a DIV hunting day in and day out when they have to constantly charge it.
Yeah, right. Now, can you get an extra battery? Is it a rechargeable battery, I would guess?
It's built-in batteries. Yes, they're rechargeable built-ins.
So you can't change them out, yeah.
Well, I'm not sure you can. I just, if I had to do that, I'd send it to them to do that.
I gotcha. Yeah. Well, we'll have to get you back on soon. I'd like to hear how what you think about that. Let me know how that goes, because that might be a heck of an alternative for people that are wanting to hunt in those mineralized grounds like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be good on salt water. So, I mean, there's no loss in it that you can take it to the beach and use it and get great down there. I mean, it's always going to work well there. But I didn't get it for the beach. I got it for relics and iron. Believe it or not, hey, if somebody wants to use a PI and iron, are they crazy?
Right.
Well, not when it has a ground balance on it, because you hear tones. But what's cool about this one, the nail gives you a double blip.
Oh, really?
Big iron. Oh, yeah. I was using bolts up to 4 or 5 inches long, and it double toned them all day long.
Huh.
So even though PIs don't have real discrimination or rudimentary discrimination, this one did give me some iron feedback.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We'll see how it goes.
Oh, that's exciting. I'm curious. Yeah. I mean, I understand it's a PI machine, but not all PI machines get the same depth.
Well, let me tell you why. Yeah, I can explain something very simple to you.
Okay.
When it was discovered up at DIV that, oh man, if you have a pulse machine, you're going to find some great stuff. A straight PI will not go deep in mineralized ground. In other words, one that can't even ground balance. The soil's so bad, whether it's a PI or not, in order to achieve depth, you've got to have a ground balance. And nobody knew that. People wasted all this money, bought all these PIs that couldn't do anything. And they blare off when you lower the coil to the ground. Mm-hmm. And then introduce comes along the ground balance, and one of the byproducts of this is you get that inverted tone. And once that came on the scene, man, people were cleaning up. Once they learned the tones, and there are some differences in the tones you can hear other than just high and low tones. Uh-huh. If you had a good ear for that, man, you could find a ton of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then the PIs got better, and now the GPX, I mean, they rule the roost, and people are using these giant coils, and I mean, they're getting some extraordinary depth on stuff. So eventually one day they'll clean that whole area up there.
Right.
Probably won't be anything left for anybody to find.
Yeah, to some extent.
Unless you can find some virgin ground. There's no virgin ground up there that I know of. If the farmer didn't let people go up there, they went at night. They didn't care.
Yeah.
So it'd be hard for me to think in that area that's been pounded for over 40 or 50 years that there's still places left that you could walk out there and just start digging stuff.
Yeah, I don't think it'd ever be. I mean, there's got to be those farmers that wouldn't let people in and stuff. So maybe they were hunted at night, but it's not like they got to spend the time and stuff. I mean, there's always going to be land and stuff, but it is getting hunted out pretty good up that way.
And it's cleaned up really good, Fred. I mean, I know the area and I know the ground and I know the camps, and you're going to pay $250 to come on by and get a hotel for a couple $100 more and pay your food and walk away with a half a dozen shot mini balls. Good luck.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Enjoy the experience.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think a lot of it is like Detective All. It's more about the people and getting together and stuff. I would love to go to Detective All for that reason. Because I've got to meet so many people or talk to people from the UK now. I started up the UK podcast. I do every Thursday now at 8:00 their time, and I'd love to go over but I really would. I mean, and I would have to do some hunting, but I would rather do it in a small group or a couple of the guys I talk to, and go hunt some of their lands that they've invited me to than that. But Detective All would be neat. I would like to meet some of those people that I've seen, and talk to.
Yeah.
But
that's a lot of money to meet some people, but I'd like to go just to dig, man. I'm going there. But I think all it is a rally like they have every weekend in England.
Yeah.
They have all those rallies. It's just a big rally. I didn't see where anybody was finding anything great. Like anything else,
I think
find a couple guys may find a few things, but overall, it wasn't that much done. I mean, that's for me. I wouldn't have wanted to go there to see demons come out of a box. I wanted to go there to find some old hammered coins or whatever. But they're hit or miss like anything. DIVs are hit or miss. You never know what you're going to get.
Right.
But that's a long way to go just to say hi to somebody.
Right. Well, no, what I'm saying is I would love to go over, do some detecting at Detective All, but, meet everybody, talk to everybody, get a beer with everybody, then stay another week and hit the fields with friends.
Well, you have to do that. You have to go for 2 weeks.
Yeah. I'm not talking about going over just for Detective All and hang out with everybody. No, I'd have to get some serious detecting in.
Probably you'd have to hang out, You'd have to stick your mug between a nugget with a nugget somebody or other and the detect guy and
you get some pictures taken and stuff. Get some pictures
you'd have to figure out how to get your face in amongst all those folks trying to get a little screen timer.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Good times. I think we put Gypsy to sleep. I talk too much. George, I talk too much is the problem. And poor Gypsy just finally, I think she gave up. She's like, Mike has been just talking. I'm sorry, Gypsy. You know how I am. But you did jump in a bunch earlier and did really good. And I think you just got tired of it. You're like, just let him talk. Just let him talk.
Well,
I'm learning them.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Gypsy. Yeah, we're going to put you out of your misery. I'm going to bed. I got to go to work tomorrow.
All right, George. Thanks for coming on. When you get a little bit of time on that new detector, I already forgot the name of it. I'd love to the Thracian Mineral Power PI detector.
Mineral Power, right on.
Yeah, you got
to. I'll let you know what's going on with the Deus again. We'll try a few little programs.
Yeah.
And we'll talk again soon. It'll be, for me, end of the month is when I really get out and start doing it. We're going to go up to 90 degrees again this week.
Oh, no fun there.
Yeah, I know. It's going to get hot again, but by the end of the month is when I really start going, right in October. We should make some good finds.
Yeah, let's look in November sometime. Maybe mid-November, because I think I'm going to Ohio from like the 2nd to the 14th. So, and I'll probably do a show. We'll probably still do shows, but I don't know if we'll have guests or I'm not sure what's going on yet. But we'll see how it goes. And but keep in
Okay.
touch, George. It's always nice to have you on, and I'm looking forward to getting you on again too.
All right. Well, you all have a good evening. We'll talk again soon.
You too. Good
Thanks,
night, George.
George.
All right. Nice to meet you, Gypsy. Keep at it, girl.
Glad to
Keep
meet
digging.
Thank you.
Keep
Will do.
digging. All right. See you guys.
All right. Good night.
All right.
Good night.
And I cut him off too early. I am sorry, guys. I knocked him right off. I apologize. Hope you enjoyed tonight's show, and tune in tomorrow night. Again, Matt and I are going to talk about the dark side of the hobby and some of the different things. I think if you're a newbie, you know a newbie, get them to tune in. There's some stuff I learned the hard way. Some I've learned from other people. Good one to tune into. Trust me, it's something that needs to be said and talked about. And yeah, absolutely. So hope you enjoyed tonight's show, and thank you for listening. Good night, everybody.
The All Metal Mode podcast is sponsored by Digger's Den. If you are looking for a metal detector, get in touch with Mike or Brian. Together, they have years of experience with many different brands and models. They also truly enjoy what they do. You can contact them through Facebook at Digger's Den, visit the website at dddetectors.com, or give Mike a call. He makes it sound like it's so hard raising our boy, but trust me, he has time. 937-414-4578.